I've just ridden my bike from Spain back to the UK, and in this video I'm going to show you the kit I took on this bikepacking trip. I'm Tom, bikepacker, ultra racer and all-round cycling fanatic. If you've seen my video about my bikepacking trip from Girona in Spain back to the UK, 1300 kilometres, you'll have seen I had a number of bags on my bike. Now that I'm back, I thought I'd show you the kit I took, whether it worked and anything that I would change about it. So let's get cracking and have a look at the bags I took on my bike. So this is the bike as it was as I arrived home the other day. On the back I've got the Apidura saddle pack, got an exposure booster, rear light, 2 water bottles, 750ml, 1 litre, which provided a perfect amount of water during the ride. Move the cranks out the way. Down here I've got another Apidura bag. At the top I was running a Re-Strap top tube bag, which due to the size of my frame basically takes up the whole top tube, and I think it looks quite cool. Up front we've got some aero bars which are helpful in the wind, and I added these straps to them which were really helpful for holding stuff as I was riding. As you can see, my rain jacket, because there were a few days where it wasn't perfect weather. Got my Garmin mounted on there, and then I've got the Re-Strap bar bag. So that was the bike setup. Let's get it inside and see what I took on my trip. Up first, it's the Re-Strap bar bag. Now I have to keep this bag fairly compact so that it fits inside my handlebars. I think they're 42cm width. This bag contains my sleeping kit. It's not too heavy. As you might be able to see, there are some marks on the bag where it's bounced up and down a bit on the off-road and hit the front wheel occasionally. So when I pack it, I have to bear in mind I leave a gap between the front wheel and the bag, which is sufficient enough to prevent that. So that's the dry bag that sits in the holder. Let's see what's inside. So as I said, in here I keep my sleeping kit. So the first thing, there's a Thermarest repair patch in case you get a puncture in your sleeping mat. We've got a buff to keep your face or neck or head warm in the night. If I can pull this out because it's fairly compacted. In here is my Outdoor Research helium bivy bag, and then already packed inside the bivy itself is the Thermarest sleeping mat. So the idea here is when I get to the place to sleep, roll it out, pump up the air mat, chuck the sleeping bag in, and I'm good to go, climb inside and have a good sleep. Also inside the bag is my sleeping bag. I took a very light one season summer bag by Sea to Summit, which is very light but not the warmest. And then finally in the bag is this little luxurious Sea to Summit pillow. An inflatable pillow, folds down really small, but gives you that bit of extra comfort when you're trying to get to sleep. Next up is a Re-Strap top tube bag. This is one of my favourite bags. It's really handy. It's about 2 litres in size and you can fit quite a lot of kit in there, and it sits nice and sleek on my frame. Up the front of the bag there's 2 handy pockets which I tend to stick rubbish. But there's some leftovers from the trip, and I have my sort of hand sanitizer there ready to go, easy to get hold of. So then inside the bag itself, just unzip it. Now actually the only downside with this bag is it's not fully waterproof. It's sort of water resistant, but if it rains heavy and persistently, everything inside can get wet. I saw someone on the Pan Celtic race with his electronics in here, in the same bag. They got wet and then no longer worked for the rest of the trip. So I tend to keep my important things inside some sandwich bags. So there's something important. There's a power bank with my phone charger lead, so I can keep my phone topped up. My earbuds for listening to some music, just some cheap ones that have actually worked out really well over the last few years. My Minix quick charger and another phone charger. This is a MagSafe one because if your phone gets wet in the port you won't be able to charge it, but with the MagSafe one you can charge it when it's wet, which is really helpful. Some handy to reach tissues, bit of chamois cream, an A-bus cafe style lock, which annoyingly during the trip the button which retracts the wire back in seemed to stop working. It wasn't ever too much of a worry in France, leaving my bike outside a shop, that sort of thing, but on a few occasions I stuck the cafe lock around it just to stop someone wheeling the bike away. Paracetamol for those aches and pains, some diarrhea tablets, which I've clearly used, Dynaplug punch repair kit, which I didn't have to use fortunately, glasses wipes to clean my sunglasses, some Pelotan sun lotion spray SPF 30, which was very helpful particularly at the start of the trip when it was about 30 degrees, some Squirt chain lube, which over a distance of about 800 miles you've got to top up your chain to keep it running smoothly every now and again. A load of cable ties just in case, a couple of quick links just in case, and this great little multi-tool set which I have in my top tube bag for easy reach just in case you want to adjust something on your bike on the fly and not have to go through your whole toolkit to get it out. So that's the top tube bag let's see what's in the down tube bag. So this is the Apidura down tube bag, sits underneath the down tube. As you can see, it's a bit mucky. It looks like there could be a dead slug on the bottom there. This contains all my spares and repairs. It's fairly heavy, so keeping it down low on the bike is good. The only slight irritation on this bag is it moved around slightly, and there's a little nick on there where it had been rubbing on the chain ring. So every now and again I had to reach down, push the bag across, which there were a couple of dodgy moments where my hand sort of touched the front wheel. But let's have a look at what I took. So opening the roll top bag, it's a waterproof bag, so everything in there stays dry. Got a spare inner tube, more dyno plugs, tyre levers, which have also got a quick link in there, and a chain splitting tool for the quick link. A little pair of mini pliers that have got a little knife on. This is more for dealing with sort of tubeless issues. Spare brake pads, my usual little box of tricks. That's got a £5 note in the top, but that's got things like patches, some quick links, tyre plugs, a valve core extender, some patches, that kind of thing. Another spare inner tube. As you can see, I keep these in a pair of old socks, just so that there's an extra barrier between the inner tube rubbing on something else that's in the bag and maybe making a hole in it. Spare cleat for my shoes, spare neck hanger in case the other one gets bent, because that's quite a difficult thing to sort when you're out in the field. Luckily on the trip I didn't even have to open this, which I'm very thankful for. My brake pads lasted, didn't get a puncture, and my neck hanger was fine. Last up, the big boy, the Apidura saddle pack. Before we get inside the bag, on top you can see I've got this little Musette. This was from Pan Celtic race that I did a couple of years ago. This bag was really handy, particularly when you had to leave your bike, say in a different place in the hotel. You could take your essentials off and get to your hotel room without having to take all your bags off the bike. It was also really handy in shops, so from the supermarket you could load your food in there, ride for a bit of it on your back, and then stop and eat your lunch, and then get rid of the bag again. Inside the Apidura saddle pack, which I picked up on Vinted for £30. It's like 120 quid bag for 30 quid, and that bargain price couldn't be beaten. So in here, it's not packed in most efficiently because I kind of took stuff out when I went on the ferry on the way home and then chucked it back in as I rode back home again. I've got my down jacket, which is great for keeping warm. It was good in that cold night I had in the bivvy bag, and also just for walking around town and stuff in the evening. Little luxury mini deodorant, that was more for after the bike ride when I went to the hotel, etc., and then was going out for something to eat in the evening, just to give people around me a nicer odour. Pack of wires for charging, various different wires, and there's a couple of spare ones. Like I tend to take a spare Garmin one just in case I break one, because keeping your Garmin charged is obviously a pretty important thing. And again, kept in a sandwich bag for extra protection. Oh, we've got a half-eaten bar of Milka that'll be polished off this afternoon. Dry bag, which was kind of my medical and hygiene stuff. So I've got a folding toothbrush and some toothpicks, that kind of thing. Some toothpaste, which I had to buy during the trip because I ran out. Oh, some more paracetamol. Definitely not an addict. Some spare sandwich bags. Some pseudo cream, which I luckily didn't have to use. Some more chamois cream, which I did use. I took 2 of these cleansing handy wipes, thinking I was going to be camping outside more than I actually did, and I didn't actually use these in the end, so I've got those saved for another trip. Moving on, I've got some sports or some gym clothes, I guess, just some light shorts and a light t-shirt, which I wore out and about in town. Kind of probably looked a bit odd at times, but I don't really care. I was wearing cycling shoes, cycling socks, and a gym outfit, going into these reasonably nice restaurants, but no one seemed to mind, and I guess as long as I'm paying, they're going to be happy to take my custom. Medical bag, I call it. So it's got some plasters and stuff in there, tick removal tool, some seasickness tablets, and some antihistamines in case I got bitten by anything. I've got some earplugs and an eye mask, which is really helpful, particularly outside or anywhere really, because it kind of gives you the same sleeping environment wherever you are, which kind of helps me get to sleep. We've got some arm warmers, which I didn't actually have to use, which was fantastic, but they were there just in case it got cold. We got a spare jersey. I took 2 jerseys as a luxury on this trip, and I managed to wash them every night I stayed in accommodation, so yeah, doesn't smell too bad. Not super fresh, but not super bad compared to some of the other trips I've been on. Albion ultralight sort of down windproof jacket, which was helpful in the Pyrenees when I was descending, but I'm not quite sure where this jacket sit because I also had my waterproof jacket with me, and actually looking back I probably would have got away with just wearing the waterproof jacket as a wind stopper, but I think I may have got lucky with the temperatures because it never got too cold on this trip. I have my Spats leg warmers, again Didn't have to use these. It was perfectly fine, but it was more just in case, and who knows what the weather was going to do over a 9-10 day period. 2 emergency beta fuel bars. I did take 3 and I had to use one when I couldn't find too much food on a Sunday, I think. But I never really had an issue of getting food in France or Spain, and actually I ended up eating pretty well, mainly at bakeries. A high-vis tabard, because in France, if you're riding at night, you have to wear a sort of high-vis vest. Again, I didn't ride at night time, so I didn't have to use it, but it was there just in case I had to pull an all-nighter to get back to the ferry. And then down the bottom, which was a bit annoying, I have 2 pairs of long finger gloves. So originally I packed my bag and my bike box with these sort of neoprene waterproof long finger gloves because I couldn't find these gloves, sealskin ones, but my wife ended up finding them after I packed my bag, so I couldn't be bothered to take everything out again, so I ended up carrying 2 pairs of gloves, which I never wore. The thing I like about sealskins, I bought them in a size bigger than I usually take, so when it gets cold and I'm wearing my normal short sleeve finger gloves, I can just literally put these over that glove as well. I don't have to take the mitt off. These gloves go straight over, and then I keep my hands nice and warm, and these are also waterproof. So that was all the stuff I took with me on my bike packing trip from Spain back to the UK. If I could rewind back a couple of weeks ago to when it all began, I wouldn't have bothered taking the sleeping stuff. I would have just committed to staying inside because it was a leisure trip, and yeah, staying in the bivy bag isn't the most comfortable experience, and I should have thought from the start, yeah, let's keep it nice, let's stay inside hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, that kind of thing. Likewise, I had quite a lot of kit for bad weather. I did have to use the rain jacket a couple of times, but as you saw, I had 2 pairs of gloves, I had leg warmers, I had arm warmers, which in reality I didn't have to use, but you never know, and I guess it would be quite a risk taking them out of the bag over the course of a 9-10 day trip because yeah, the weather could change and you could end up regretting taking them out when you get really cold. I didn't weigh my bike myself, but when I checked into the airport, I think inside the box it came in at about 22 kilos, so I reckon we're probably pushing towards the 20 kilo mark. My bike itself isn't the lightest, it's an aluminium gravel bike which probably weighs about 10-11 kilos itself, and I reckon that big bike box and all the packing tape and packaging inside probably weighed a couple of kilos. So I don't know, maybe I was around 19 kilos for a fully loaded bike for my water. But funnily enough, after a few miles you kind of forget about the weight and it just becomes familiar. But what I am really looking forward to now I've taken those bike bags off my bike is going for a spin around the New Forest and actually appreciating how light a bike can feel. So that's the kit I took with me on my trip. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll try and answer them, or perhaps share some ideas about the kit you take on your trips and what works really well. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more routes and adventures. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.